Hello, people. Just a quick note, and this really is a quick note. This series I'm doing right now, Articles of Freedom, as well as SR 93-549, which I'm going to complete also. When both of these are completed, I'm going to be moving these over to a playlist called DAF, which stands for Defend America First. So that's what I'm going to do with these ones. As like I say, I'm having trouble creating playlists now. So let's get back to the Articles of Freedom, and not take up more of your time with what might be for you irrelevant material, as you might not be facing those issues, or you might not know anyone facing those issues. All right, here we go. I'm going to repeat this part. These petitions for redress of constitutional violations have been answered only with repeated injury. For instance, the petitions served upon officials in the executive and legislative branches have been answered only with science, notwithstanding the fact that the government is obligated to respond as the fulfillment of the logical process implied by the accountability clause, i.e., the last 10 words of the First Amendment, which instructs the people of their right to petition and thus their right to be answered. Petition for redress filed with the courts by individuals or small groups are repeatedly dismissed for lack of standing. Before the courts will hear a constitutional challenge of a violation by the government, they require each and every individual petitioner to prove to the court that he has the right to stand before the court to argue his case against the government. Do you understand that you got to prove you even got a right to be there? It doesn't matter that you're an American citizen by default that makes you have a right to be there. No. Legal gobbledygook. They trap you up in it. Anything to block you or anybody. This is so stupid. It's insulting what they do to us. Okay? Now, I'm going to say that again. Petitions for redress filed with the courts by individuals or small groups are repeatedly dismissed for lack of standing. Before the courts will hear a constitutional challenge of a violation by the government, they require each and every individual petitioner to prove to the court that he has the right to stand before the court to argue his case against the government. Now, before I even get into the next sentence, I want to explain something here. All right. Lately, it's been that the courts will say, well, you're not party to the Constitution, nor are you a party to the Declaration of Independence, because you weren't there and you didn't sign the documents. So you're not a party to the contract. All right? Now, on to the next sentence. To prove his standing, the courts require proof that the petitioner's injury resulting from the government's violation of the Constitution is different in kind and degree, more concrete and particularized than the harm suffered by every other person in the country. Since this is not possible, the court's definition of standing means that all unwelcome constitutional challenges from the people will be dismissed. This position prevents the very foundation upon which the Declaration of Independence and Constitution are built, that each and every provision of the Constitution is a guarantee to each and every person of an individual unalienable right. In a system based on the letter and spirit of our founding documents, every violation of the Constitution does in fact injure or harm the individual and should thereby give him or her the right to stand in court to seek relief. Now, I'm going to quote a quote that I picked up from somewhere, so I can't credit who it is. An injustice for anyone, anywhere, is an injustice to everyone, everywhere. So if there's an injury under Constitution to just one person, it's an injury to all of us in this nation. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. Under these facts and circumstances, it is well settled in American jurisprudence that silence is an admission. The government, by its silence, has admitted to its violations of the Constitution. Therefore, we the people now find the three branches of government to be in violation of the Accountability Clause of the First Amendment of the Constitution. The public officials to be guilty of dereliction of duty and violation of their oath of office, and their actions as listed in the aforementioned petitions for redress to be outside the boundaries drawn around their power and therefore unconstitutional. Let me shrink it down, check my time. Okay. B. Remedial instructions. Number 1 to Congress. Because the federal judiciary dismisses for lack of standing or lack of jurisdiction those petitions by citizens who seek to remedy violations of the Constitution by public officials, the Congress of the United States shall adopt legislation to amend the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure and the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. 1. Affirming the jurisdiction of all federal courts to hear challenges to the constitutionality of any action by any state or federal public official, elected or appointed or agency or department. And number 2, to prohibit any and all federal courts from denying standing to any individual to challenge the constitutionality of any action by any state or federal public officials, elected, appointed. And 3, to assure that any state or federal judge who violates the rule related to paragraph 1 or 2 above shall be deemed to have violated his or her oath of office and shall be removed from office in accordance with existing rules and disqualified from holding public office therefore. 4. Defining the meaning of the word proper within the context of the first paragraph above as follows. The term petition is not defined in the Constitution. To be sure, a communication to be protected as a petition to the government for redress of grievances would have to embody certain components to ensure that the document was a petition and not a pretended petition. Not all communications, nor just any document, can be regarded as a constitutionally protected petition for redress of grievances. Petitions for redress that qualify for protection by the First Amendment include petitions to remedy violations in the Constitution which are serious and documented, not frivolous, contain no falsehoods, are not absent probable cause, have the quality of a dispute, came from a person outside of a formal political culture, contain both a direction and a demand for relief, have been punctilious, meaning it follows formatting conventions, address public collective grievances, involve constitutional principles, have been signed only or primarily by citizens, have been dignified, meaning authenticated, have widespread participation and consequences. All right, shrink that down. We're almost at the end of this. Well, I got a good little kink here we can throw in. It would take a person with a lot of personal conviction and courage to do this. But every judge has to be bonded. They have to have $1 million bond even to sit on the bench. Now that bond is to be with them as they sit on the bench, not somewhere else in the building or even at their home. So if you go in and say, well, Judge, where's your bond? How am I to know you are really an authentic judge? If they can't produce that bond, that $1 million goes to you, not the judge. You get that bond because they're required by law to have it when they're sitting on the bench. So they want to play dirty pool? There's a dirty pool trick for you. Check it out.